Throughout history, there have been countless unexplainable stories, events, and moments captured on audio. These horrifying tapes were archived, never to be heard again. Until now. These are the tapes of trepidation. Tape number 54, Side A, Aisle 13. It was nearly midnight when I stopped by the supermarket. Just a quick trip. Milk, bread, and maybe some frozen meals. The place was almost empty. Just a bored cashier scrolling on their phone and a janitor lazily pushing a mop across the floor. I wandered through the aisles, mind hazy with exhaustion, when I noticed an aisle I didn't recognize. I've been here a lot. It's the closest supermarket to my dinky apartment downtown. But this aisle, it's new? There was no sign above it. No promotional posters lazily slapped on. The shelves were nearly bare, stocked only with a few dented cans and faded boxes. The air was strangely thick. It felt like an old warehouse. As I turned around to check out the aisle, stretched out where the cashier would have been was just more shelves. The supermarket was small, but now it looked huge. Then I heard it. A soft squeak, like a cart's wheels turning, slow and deliberate. I wasn't alone. I turned my head around, scanning the aisle. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Then, at the far end of the aisle, I saw it. A shopping cart. It stood motionless, facing me. Empty. Waiting. The wheels twitched, and then it started rolling. Not like it was pushed or nudged, just moving. I stepped back, the cart picking up speed, its wheels whining against the floor. The distant hum of the supermarket faded into silence, leaving only the squeak of metal on tile. I turned and walked backwards, still shaky. I didn't look back as I started to pick up the pace, the shelves disappearing from my vision. Then a hand grabbed my wrist, and I froze. I slowly turned around to see what grabbed me. The janitor's face was what met my view. His grip firm, but not unkind. I was back at the front of the store. The registers, the automatic doors, everything was normal. The fluorescent lights hummed above us. "What the hell were you doing?" he asked. I turned to look behind me. The aisle wasn't there. Just a solid wall of stacked drinks and promotional posters. My chest heaved. I tried to speak, to explain, but what could I say? That I had been lost in an impossible aisle? That a cart was moving on its own towards me? The janitor let go of my wrist and sighed. You saw it, didn't you? I stared at him. He pulled his mop closer, voice dropping to a whisper. Aisle 13. It doesn't show up for everyone. He looked toward the empty space where I swore the aisle had been. When it does, you don't let that cart catch you. I swallowed hard. What happens if it does? He didn't answer. Just shook his head, pressed them off to the floor, and got back to his cleaning. Behind me, the automatic doors whooshed open. I didn't look back. I just ran out and never went back. Side B, the abandoned convenience store. Ever wonder how some people seem to have no fear whatsoever? You know, people who go skydiving every weekend. People who climb thousands of feet of mountains just to snowboard down a side that's probably pretty safe as long as I avoid those trees. People who marathon watch the scariest movies you've ever seen, then don't even blink before falling asleep. Well, if you envy them, then there's a way to conquer your own fear. You'll just have to pay for the consequences. Get on any passenger bus that travels a long distance. Greyhound is usually a good pick. Anything that's on the road for longer than 24 hours. Get a window seat facing west, then stare at the sun, waiting until sunset. Just before the sun touches the horizon, close your eyes hard. Do not turn away, and don't look at anything else. Cover your ears if you have to. After a while, you'll notice that the bus has stopped moving. That's the signal that you can open your eyes. When you do, you'll see a gas station, illuminated only by a few flickering fluorescent lights. There will be no sun, no moon, and no stars in the sky. The convenience store will have its windows boarded up, but the sign will say open. If you feel that you can't go through with it, get back on the bus, return to your seat, and fall asleep. You'll wake up at sunrise the next day, well on your way to wherever the bus was going. If you enter the store, the door will slam shut behind you, and you will spend an unknown amount of time in there, living out your worst nightmares made real. If you survive the ordeal without going mad, you will awaken back on the bus. As it reaches its destination, nothing will ever scare you again. Some say that after going through this ordeal, everything else simply pales in comparison. They say that what that room contains is all the fear you will ever feel in your entire life. And exposing yourself to it all at once keeps you from feeling any more. This, however, can only be done once. There are some exceptions to the ability as well. All I know is if you try to repeat this feat, the sign on the door will say, closed. This has been tape number 54, Aisle 13, and The Abandoned Convenience Store by the Tapes of Trepidation Horror Narration Podcast. Side A, Aisle 13, was written by Dogs Are Cute 11 and was submitted for consideration. This was a fun and unique story. Thanks so much for submitting it. Side B, The Abandoned Convenience Store, was written by an unknown author. It was originally posted on the Creepypasta Wiki. Narration, production, and sound design for this episode was by TJ Hodder. Credits for music used in this episode can be found in the show notes. The Tapes of Trepidation theme was written by the incredible J.M. Scherf. All logos, banners, overlays, and graphic design work was provided by the masterful Jason Reese from Jaybird Digital Arts. If you have a story you would like to submit or a question regarding the show, please contact us at tapesoftrepidation.podcast@gmail.com. Check us out on social media through the link tree in the show notes. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Insert generic "please join the Discord because it's a lot of fun" message here. But seriously, we have a ton of fun over on Discord. So if you enjoy the podcast, come hang out with us. If you'd like to support the show a little more, consider joining the Tapes of Trepidation Patreon. Well, for as little as $5 a month, you can gain access to monthly bonus short story narrations, of which there will be at least 2 this month, the weekly behind-the-scenes podcast within the archive, and more. Come, join us, and become trapped within the archive. Just like my current patrons, Neil Skaruba from Neurotic Voice, Doozer Pindan, Ronan Komori, Eric Phones, Patrick Stewart, and Dogs Are Cute 11. Thank you all so very much for the support. All content used on Tapes of Trepidation is either original, used with permission, or is available on your Creative Commons Share-alike license. All rights reserved unless otherwise stated. Information about the Creative Commons by Share-alike license can also be found in the show notes. This podcast and its content may not be redistributed or rebroadcasted without the express written consent of Tapes of Trepidation and the story's author. Thank you so much for listening.